Three, two, one. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43, and tonight we are back in the Worcester. And I'm going to show you guys the perfect example of the kind of game that I get into every single time I take the Worcester out, and why you never see me play the Worcester. So, before we get started, let's get over the commander we're running. Azure Le Montpellier. We've got Philippine and Baltimore as our inspirations. We've got Beyond Range, Igniter, All-Out Assault, and Steer Clear with Fully Packed as our as our commander traits. We have Aiming Systems Mod 1, we've got Steering Gears Mod 2, we've got Concealment System Mod, and we've got Main Battery Mod 3. So, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be in the Worcester. And this is the kind of matchmaking I get every time I get in the Worcester. I am not allowed to have a match where I get to use the Worcester for what it's for, which is island camping, slapping battleships into submission with high explosive shells. I don't get that. This is what I get every time I jump in the Worcester. You guys think I'm joking. Like, when I tell you guys that every time I try to record a cruiser game, I get these lobbies nonstop, I mean it. I'm not joking. I know a lot of people, I've seen Meta, and I love Meta to death, but I've seen Meta and some others say, well, I don't understand why Spartan always says, no, it's true! You guys have seen it on stream, too, when I jump in a cruiser rarely on stream. Like, this is what I get. I can't help it. It's not my fault. Like, it just, don't get me wrong, it makes for some action-packed videos, but they're not very, like, long duration. They're not really interesting. That you can't really showcase the ship in its element. So you end up having to play like a lunatic. And this is going to be no different. But this game is also going to serve another purpose. And this is going to be more geared towards a teammate on my team. And this teammate and I had a little bit of a back and forth. And by back and forth, I mean I was talking to somebody in chat, or in live chat. And I was talking about this Zhao. I was being very sarcastic to this Zhao about him contributing to the overall play on this side of the map. Because he's going to do textbook Zhao things. But textbook Zhao things is great when you're in a lobby full of battleships. This is not a lobby full of battleships. Alright? So, don't do textbook Zhao. Just like textbook Worcester wouldn't work in this situation. If I just sat over here behind the island the entire game, I ain't going to do nothing. I ain't going to contribute to the team. Right? Sometimes you got to be adaptable. I know. Crazy freaking concept in this game for a lot of players. They don't understand what it means to adapt your gameplay based on the match. Alright? We can't do anything about the matchmaking, okay? But what we can do is recognize when you have an advantage or a disadvantage and try to use that to your advantage. In a lobby full of cruisers, we have a battleship here. Alright? Now I want you to see what this guy does. He pulls up, and I'm not hating on the player, this is textbook Zhao gameplay, and this type of gameplay does not do very well in a match full of cruisers. Because you just end up in a position where you're not using your hit points to help your team. Okay, and it does have a decent amount of hit points. I've only got 45,000 hit points. I do have 32 millimeters of armor, but it's very flat, meaning that if I get caught, there's a good chance that these cruisers are going to slap me. But the Frederick de Grosse is going to do the thing here. He's going to go full German battleship mode, where he just pulls out, goes full broadside in front of everybody, and just assumes that it's going to be okay. Like, there are 3 cruisers, and all of them are super cruisers. You got Yoshino out there, that is the Super Azuma. You've got the Defense out there, which is railgun 14-inch guns with freaking reload booster. You've got the Michelangelo out there, which has big guns as well. Like, there's a lot of hatred out here. Okay? So, what I want you guys to focus on is, if you're in the battleship shoes here, be a little bit less crazy. Alright? Because you're in a DPM war that you can't win. Also, there's a lot of torpedoes. Alright? Every one of these ships has torpedoes. So, keep that in mind when you go out and you go full broadside in front of everybody. But, the other thing I want you guys to pay attention to is, notice that the Zhao, like, what is the Zhao doing? Like, he's fired his guns, don't get me wrong. It's not that he's not shooting. He is firing his guns, but he's also going out of his way to try to torpedo. And, like, dude, you're up against cruisers. Every one of these cruisers, I believe, well, I think at least two, I don't know. You know what? Maybe they don't have hydros. I know Yoshino has a hydro. I don't remember if defense does or not. You'd think I'd know by now, but I don't remember. But either way, we're out here, out in the open, doing open water gunboaty things, just keeping these guns cycling, right? We used AP when we had the opportunity, but we've been using the HE for the most part, because we're at ranges that the AP is not going to be particularly amazing, or at least not consistent, whereas the HE absolutely will. But you can see we've already set 6 fires in this lobby, and we've killed our first ship. We did a lot of damage early on. We've done 54,000 damage on this flank, but unfortunately we lose our battleship here. Now I want you to pay attention to what I'm doing next. Now Zhao is in a position to kite, and you can see I request his support, which should tell him what I'm planning here. We know that the enemy, whatchamacallit, Michelangelo, is up against this island or close to this island, so what I'm going to do, given the location of my teammate, I'm going to get close enough to guarantee the radar on the Michelangelo so that he can farm him for damage.
Fire on the enemy warship.
I want you guys to watch how long it takes any shells whatsoever to come at this Michelangelo. There's 15 seconds. 20 seconds. I'm the first person to engage. Alright? Why is that? Over 20 seconds, and I have to start firing first. Why am I the first person to engage him? It's simple. The guy doesn't want to get shot at. He's in a Zhao, he's terrified. He is scared to death that anybody might look in his general direction. Now, I want to remind you guys that the Zhao has 30 millimeters of armor everywhere. Meaning the only person in this entire lobby that could potentially overmatch him is the battleship, and I don't know if the battleship is even capable of doing it, because I don't know if it's a Yamato or a Ohio or a Loria. Like, it takes 18-inch guns, at least 457 millimeter guns to overmatch 30 millimeters of armor. Meaning, you should at some point think about trading some of your hit points, right? Now, I've gotten away with relatively minor damage, meaning that so could have this Zhao, right? Now, what happens next is we go in. This guy is all by himself in the enemy Michelangelo, right? We go in here because it's 2-on-1. But watch what the Zhao does. The Zhao starts shooting at the Yoshino, which is fine. He's paying attention to who's available as a target of opportunity. I absolutely agree. We go for the Yoshino here as well. Michelangelo gets spotted. Now, again, if the Zhao was actually trying to, like, push forward here, he could help take some of the fire off of this Michelangelo, because the SAP from the Michelangelo is going to shred me. Also, torpedoes would have been potentially useful here as well. But as you can see, like, the amount of hit points I'm going, and the frustrating auto locking onto the guy all the way in the backfield is absurd as well. And you can see Michelangelo using the SAP against me. I mean, it's just a matter, he's just chunking me for damage. But we end up surviving, and at this point, I just look back at this guy who's still angling to run away here. And I'm just like, come on. And you can see, like, my controller actually disconnected. If that would have happened sooner, I would have broke something, I promise. If I would have died because my controller disconnected right as I was fighting that guy, I would have lost it. But you're going to see me jump into chat and start the sarcastic part. And just the funny part of this is it is so obvious between the two of us that I'm right? And there's another guy that's going to jump into chat in a moment. We just end up chatting for the rest of the game, but about all of the things World of Warships Legends. But I'm like, oh, don't worry, Zhao. I got you, fam. I will do... And he starts shooting me. This is how you know I'm right. Like, this is how you know I'm right. But I'm like, I got you, fam. Don't worry. I wouldn't want you to trade any of your hit points at any point during a match full of cruisers. But it is what it is. We're used to it, right? I'm so used to carrying my side of the map every time. Like, I'm so used to getting as little help as possible. The Zhao is incredibly powerful. It's got 8-inch guns. The HE pins everything. Doesn't matter if you're in a battleship, cruiser, doesn't matter. The HE is disgusting. It's got ridiculous torpedoes. It's got all the things that you could ask for. And it's got good armor. And in a match like this, where you're up against, like, a bunch of stuff that doesn't overmatch you, like, you can be a little bit more aggressive, and that's the part that people don't understand. And that's the part that frustrates me. It's because people don't pay attention to when they have the advantage. Like, in that situation, we have the advantage. It's 2-on-1, easily capable of killing the last guy. But the guy ends up running, like, he just never moves. He goes out there, he sits still, and he just waits. And he's like, don't worry, my teammate will carry me to a victory, right? Like, that's not the way you should be playing. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. That is absolutely a valid strategy in a match full of battleships, especially with the amount of 18-inch guns that are out there now that overmatch you. I get it. I really do. I understand the thought process, but you also got to understand when that is not a valid strategy, and that is in a match full of cruisers. Now, he was firing his guns. He was dropping occasional torpedoes. Of course, none of his torpedoes did anything because, again, he launched them at a point where, like, there's 3 cruisers in there. All of them are moving and adjusting their trajectory. And he didn't really spread them out. He kind of set them on top of one another in the middle and just hoped for somebody to crash into them. But what I want to, like, point out isn't that the guy didn't do his job or anything like that. He was firing his guns. He was trying. But you can be a little bit more aggressive in certain situations. And a lot of people just never adapt their gameplay, whether they're a battleship, a destroyer, a cruiser, or anything. And again, I'm not hating the player. I'm just using this as a teaching moment for everybody else. If you understand what's going on around you, you can put yourself in better positions to be more useful for your team, right? And being able to take some of the hits for your team as well and spread out the damage between you instead of having one person tank all the damage is beneficial as well. But that is the part that a lot of people just simply aren't willing to do. They're not willing to put themselves in harm's way at any point, even though a lot of people don't play particularly well. And again, I'm not saying the guy didn't play well. He was in a good position that a Zao should be in most of the time. But in a match like this, you got to recognize, like, there's not really a threat to you. There really isn't. Like, the battleship was there, so he had the attention of all 3 of the cruisers. He just kind of sat there broadside and got torpedoed into oblivion, so there's that. It's not the ideal way to play his battleship, but he did his job. Regardless of the way that either of us want to look at it, the battleship did his job, which was, I'm going to move forward, I'm going to take hits. You guys are DPM cruisers, do your thing. And we did. We absolutely crushed the flank, right? We were burning the crap out of the defense. We were burning the crap out of the Zao. Or the Yoshino. We were burning the crap out of the Michelangelo. We forced all of them out of their game, forcing one of them to retreat, killing another, and burning the other one until he was sitting behind an island where he could not hurt anybody, right? Now here I popped my radar way too early. Again, this is a situation where I got spotted. I figured the guy may have came out from behind the island right in front of me, which is why I got spotted. So I thought maybe he was a little bit closer than he was. Turns out he wasn't. He was further back. So I should have held it. But as you can see, the enemy Shima does get spotted here. So we're going to go ahead and start shooting. And as we open up our guns, unfortunately the game's going to end before we get the kill on this guy. Because of course in true Spartan fashion, we got to leave with just enough to get away. But anyway, again, I just want to point out, and I also got a nice message from the guy after the match, but everything speaks for itself here, right? Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, you know, who was more beneficial to the team in the moment, right? And again, it's not about the player. It's not about anything. I'm not saying he's a worse player than me or anything like that. I'm simply saying that you got to recognize when you can be a little bit more aggressive, and you don't have to sit there and try to kite away and not try to give up any of your hit points for the entire match, right? So let me know what you guys think. Am I off target here? Are you guys gonna get like dogpile on me? Let me know down in the comments. If you agree, if you disagree, I want to know about it. And if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.